So welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to have a conversation with us today. Can you just start out, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, your training, your current position, and research interests?
Okay, so I'm Maria Kozhevnikov, and I'm cognitive neuroscientist. I'm associate professor at National University Psychology Department at National University of Singapore, and also a visiting associate professor at Harvard Medical School. So my interest is in study how what I would call enhanced cognitive states of enhanced cognition, and specifically how different activities like meditation, specific types of meditation, and I'm particularly interested in Tibetan meditation, affect people and help them to get into these high cognitive states. So this is one of my research direction. My other research direction related to visualization and visual imagery, and I study how people use visual imagery and types of visual imagery to perform their work, like artists, scientists, architects, and people of other professions.
Fascinating. And have you always been interested in the practice of meditation and how it affects the brain and the mind?
Not really. It started from my research on visualization. So I was looking for practices or training which would help to improve visual imagery capacity.
Okay, so there's where your two things overlap.
Yeah, and so I was doing cognitive neuroscience research on visual imagery, and specifically because I was related to human factor research as well, how to train visualization ability. So this is why I became interested in this is called Vajrayana Tibetan style meditation, because in contrast to other type of meditation, in contrast to mindfulness, which is very popular, this type of meditation involves visualization, very detailed and very, visualization. So this is how I got there. And my interest was how this Tibetan style can help to improve, to enhance this visualization capacity. They actually can do it. So I'm trying to understand the mechanism behind this Vajrayana style of meditations.
Right, that makes perfect sense. You know, our background together collaboratively is that you've worked extensively with our mobile EEG systems. Can you tell us a little bit about how you incorporated EEG into your research?
So why, you know, like I found your system so useful, because when I was going to Tibet, I was doing my study in Tibet. I studied very secret types of meditation, like Tumo, inner fire meditation. And for example, I cannot be even near those practitioners. So those were field studies. So I should have been like in another room. I could not even be near them while they were doing the secret style of meditation. So first of all, I was looking for wireless EEG, but at the same time, I needed to be able to look at the screen and see what they're doing, because sometimes they were doing who knows what. So that's why I was looking. I was looking here for wireless EEG, and this is how, you know, it was a long time ago. I actually found your company, and a lot of people advised me that your EEG is quite stable and it's the best wireless EEG in the market. So this is how it was 9 electrodes back then. And when going to my trip to Tibet, I actually had several EEGs from other companies as well, just to try whatever will be working. But this one was in fact the best and the most stable because of the very cold condition. This was the only one that worked perfectly well. So gel didn't get frozen, EEG was working, the battery was working, Bluetooth was working, everything was working. So, and it was easy to use, easy to apply, really helped me a lot, because in fact I was in a different room with this practitioner and I could actually see what they're doing, not see, understand looking at the EEG signal. So, so it helped me a lot. And now when you have these 20 channels, it's even better. So
that's great. So tell us a little bit more. You know, I know that I've had many conversations with you about your travels and, you know, what you had to plan to get first of all, get to Tibet or Bhutan and then be able to work with these practitioners who are very experienced meditators, and then the environmental things that you had to deal with. You mentioned the cold. And then can you also describe, you talked about the type of meditation practices that you've studied. Just give us a more detailed description, because most of us have no idea about, you know, these practitioners or how you might access them and look at their brains.
So there are different Buddhist traditions, and what people usually familiar here in the West, it's mindfulness meditation,
Yes.
which actually derivative from Theravada style of meditation, derivative from Vipassana style of meditation. So mindfulness, Vipassana, Shamatha, this is actually quite simple types of meditation, and you don't need really extensive training to learn
Yes.
how to actually do them. So this is what become popular in the West, and usually scientific data shows that these meditation, they can help to bring a person to a relaxed state, or what is called parasympathetic activity. So the person after 15 minutes show all the signals of relaxation, symptoms
Yes.
of relaxation. So now,
which is a big deal for many Westerners.
for many, it's a big deal. Yes, so you
Yeah,
really
so that's what we associate with meditation, and
yes,
and that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, but because I was not interested, like my personal scientific interest, it's not really about relaxation, but how to boost visual imagery capacity, which is very difficult to do. I mean, so
Yes.
far we can boost them only by pharmacological manipulation, and you cannot really train them. I mean, the training very limited. So this is why I study different style of meditation, which is Tibetan meditation styles, and many people they don't really know they exist or think they're the same as these Theravada style, but they're very different, and they're based on very different mechanism and approach. And so I studied them for many years, and the interesting result is that they're completely different, because the idea is not to build on relaxation, the idea to build on arousal, sympathetic activation. The idea is built on stress.
Yes.
Because when a person is in stress, the whole system, the whole body give this extra capacity to survive to survive and deal with threat. So apparently what's happening, this stressful situation, they give extra resources to deal, and extra cognitive and brain resources to deal with situation to survive. And during these states, these people exhibit, amazing cognitive boost of cognitive capacity is temporary. So boost of visualization capacity, boost of attentional capacity. But again, those are states, those are not long-term
Right.
improvements. But very different idea. But it's not just stress or panic. They really learn how to control. What we're talking about, sympathetic activation. So it's more arousal. So they're not that they're stressed or in panic. They're extremely aroused, kind of adrenaline rush.
Yes.
And they're ready to meet the challenge. So all these visualizations, sometimes very aggressive, visualization of deities, very symbolic, full of blood, with scalps, with,
Yes.
all kind of, visualization. So this is the idea. It's all based on visualization. It's also based on breathing, special breathing techniques also to boost this sympathetic activity. So this is how they boost themselves into this adrenaline rush kind of states. And this is how they show these states of amazing visualization or attentional cognitive capacity, with what I called enhanced cognition, enhanced cognitive states. And I do what I do. I study their, I use the EEG brain signal. I also look at heart rate. So I use also EKG. And because heart rate can actually give us the level of this arousal. And I also measure temperature, because apparently during these very, very high arousal states, they can even regulate their core body temperature. So this is tumor meditation. And yeah, and I also give them behavioral tests, like attentional visual test before and after this meditation. And you can see like they in fact, if even before meditation, they perform like regular people, average population. But after, during this stage, they perform like geniuses. It's 3 times more than we actually can, even more than known capacity of visual spatial working memory. So this is again special. Yeah. So that's.
Do you? How long do those effects last? Has anyone measured that, or is it different in different meditators?
So I actually, yeah, it's individual, and as they report, it depends on how well they feel, how healthy they are when they're doing this meditation, how well they slept, so actually how strong their body, and how long they meditated. But like after, you know, like many experiments, what I see, so when you're doing this EKG, like you're looking at the heart rate, this HRV analysis, you can see they're in a very aroused state. So the effect lasts as long as they're in this state of arousal. As soon as the heart recovers back to baseline, the effect disappears. So as long as they feel they're in a very kind of adrenaline rush state, you see the effect. And you can sustain, I mean, they visualize like for several hours, they still in these states. But after stop visualizing, you can see that as soon as the heart goes back to normal, the whole capacity
falls off.
Yeah.
As you probably know, there's been an explosion in research into the flow state.
Yeah, that's.
Could you compare and contrast some of that recent research with the investigations that you've done?
Actually, we're talking about flow here. This is how because I was doing research in parallel. I mean, clearly you see parallel with flow. So I was doing research with video gamers playing like aggressive video games, first-person shooter, and the effect is very similar. The EEG, improvement the same. I know it doesn't sound very. I mean, the Tibetan don't like very much to hear.
I'm sure they don't. I'm sure they think it's a completely different entrance, but there are some similarities in the actual state.
Yes, there are similarities, but I just want to say that, you know, like this is the point. By doing this comparison, looking at this comparison, I realized that, so what this Vajrayana meditation technique are doing, they teach people how to get into the state systematically from very low flow state to very high.
Yes.
Because it's deity visualization, which I mentioned, this is kind of small arousal, small flow states. But tumor, when they breathe and they imagine, you know, they're on fire, they cause paradoxically high arousal and the state of flow. And they teach very systematically how to get high and high. Now they teach it not for the sake of flow itself, they teach it because they're doing their final meditation, non-conceptual meditation like Dzogchen or Mahamudra. So this is emptiness meditation in the state of flow. So this is currently what I'm writing a paper to kind of to show the point that all this state of flow they use just to get to this non-conceptual types of meditation. Like,
that's fascinating. So you're writing a review paper comparing the models. And
because, you know,
obviously the motivations are different.
Very different. And that's the point here, that there is this argument in the literature that Tibetan Rigpa, so this is Rigpa, this is non-conceptual state or type of meditation which actually lead to Rigpa, such as Dzogchen or Mahamudra. And mindfulness, there is kind of a claim in current literature, those are the same meditation because the techniques are very similar. But Tibetan would never agree with this. And this is the difference. Mindfulness is done in a very relaxed state, while Mahamudra, let's say, done in a state of extreme arousal. So maybe the technique is the same, but Tibetan would never do it in the state of relaxation. So this last study in Bhutan to show that we're not talking about the same things. So I asked the same Bhutanese practitioner do kind of the Mahamudra after rest, in a restful state. And this is exactly mindfulness correlates. But if you ask them to do Mahamudra, as they usually do after deep visualization or Tuma, you see completely different. It's not the same type of meditation. So according to them, you need to be in flow to watch your mind, to observe your mind. You cannot be in a relaxed state. It's not the same kind of meditation.
That is fascinating. And I look forward to reading anything that you've written in that area, because I've had a number of discussions with people in the flow community. And I mean, it's fascinating, but very different motivations and preparation. And it'll be good to compare and contrast.
It would be very good to compare, not just that. That's why I'm interested in visual artists right now, because they're going into a very similar state of flow, but they're spontaneous. So all these artists or gamers or people who experience flow, they experience them spontaneously. They cannot control them. They're extremely tired, exhausted after that. So what is my idea? If to take some elements from Vajrayana Buddhism practices, you can actually teach them not only how to get in a controlled way into the states, to maintain the states, and actually to get out of the states with no damage to the body. Because, you know, they have all kind of practices in Vajrayana, how to dissolve this arousal, why their heart is going back to normal much faster than heart of video gamers, because they have all this relaxation technique after that to bring themselves back to normal, which, you know, like these gamers don't know. That's why they're playing games and going crazy and very tired and depleted, and they cannot recover.
Right.
So it's really something to get from Vajrayana to people of creative profession to boost their creativity, which is my favorite. Yeah.
And so actually, you've actually studied, have you used our EEG systems at all with the flow state?
Yes, I just submitted paper for review, and I use your system for gamers, video gamers.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. I didn't even know you were doing that.
Yes, this is recent study.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about that study, the findings?
They play in first-person shooter game for half an hour, and they get into you need to be experienced gamer to get into state of flow, and you need to play really at the edge of your kind of experience. So it should be very difficult level, but manageable, still manageable. So because if it's too difficult, they just show stress response. If you look at heart rate, they don't show really arousal. So very difficult game, but still manageable. And experienced players, half an hour of first-person shooter, actually, most of them show exactly the same state as this Tibetan. So EKG but I didn't do EEG study. I just used EKG in that video gaming study. Which
to look at the arousal levels.
Because this is now we're looking at the EEG pattern to show that they're similar as Tibetan meditators.
That's fascinating. So obviously you're coming to us from your home environment. How has COVID affected your research? And even on the flip side of that, do you see your research having some, effect or benefit as we come out of the pandemic?
So the first thing is my Tibetan meditation research, because we were planning 2 conferences, and I submitted grant with Center for Bhutan Study to UNESCO for organization of conference on Vajrayana. So like the first conference to show that those are different meditation techniques and their potential to enhance cognitive capacities. So, and US, National University of Singapore gave me also fund for conducting this pre-conference in Singapore. So now it didn't happen because of COVID. Yeah. So actually that's what I wanted to mention anyway, because I want to organize this conference, the first one, online, probably sometime in December. And I wanted to ask if you will be willing to join, So
yes.
I will try to invite all these, Rinpoche, all these abbots to this really kind of pre-conference to the second one, which I hope still will happen in Bhutan, maybe after 1 year, after everything will go back to normal from COVID. So this is pre-conference, and the topic is, like really bridging science with Vajrayana practices to talk what Vajrayana is about, how it's different, and how really neuroscience method could help us to understand these practices.
Right.
Nice. What we have available, what kind of equipment and everything we have available to move this study of Vajrayana somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh, that sounds great.
So,
yeah. Go ahead. Go on. Do you want to talk about?
Then I wanted to do another study in Bhutan, which is also will be later. And the second direction I wanted to do study with visual artists on the state of flow in Italy. And it also delayed, until I will be able to go there. And so it's more difficult because this visual artists, they completely spontaneously experience this flow, but because the ways they get into this, flow states, very similar visualization, emotional, similar like what they're not doing. So I think with a little bit of teaching them a little bit of breathing techniques, which kind of help to boost these states, and giving instruction to focus on their paintings, I think I will be able to get this in a controlled way. These flows.
That's fantastic.
So that's I really want to do the study, and I plan, but again, don't know when everything will go back to normal. So probably in 1 year.
Right. And that's something you probably can't do virtually, or it will be difficult to do it.
No. Yeah, I need to teach them this breathing. I need to give them instruction, but I can prepare everything, the whole procedure, the whole instruction to this visual artist, everything for the experiment.
Well, hopefully next year.
Yes, yeah, hopefully next year. So that's.
Now, have you? I don't know if we've had this discussion, but have you ever looked at groups of people meditating together and explored the, hyperscanning or concordance across brains or heart?
They don't want. So if you're talking about Tibetans, they never meditate together ever. So
that's interesting.
Never. So they usually in retreat centers, everyone has their own room, never in group. They only get transmission. So the Rinpoche gives them transmission, but this is not meditation. They're all together, but then they go in and meditate on their own. They never, and they don't even want to be nobody nearby them.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, and very often the flow state is an individual experience too.
No. Actually, that's an interesting question, because we actually ask ourselves whether flow is completely individual experience. So what we did, and this is my last year, like previous year, we study how people go into flow when they're in escape rooms. Like escape rooms when you need to escape.
Yeah. So then you have a group of people in the escape room, right?
4 or 5 people in escape room, and then these escape rooms, I pick them because it's the same idea. You need to survive, right? So in a certain period of time, you need, and it's a game, it's really immersive. So yes, and they do go into the same state of flow right after they're coming out from this escape room. And actually, which is interesting, they don't that experience like video gamers, they don't have experience, but yet they almost all of them show this kind of boost.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'd love to get some EEG on those people.
Yes, EEG.
That would be great.
We did only EKG. No, we didn't do EKG in escape room, because back then they were walking in escape room from one room to another. It was really difficult to connect anything to them. But now there are virtual reality escape room. So now and virtual reality escape room also shows the same effect, of flow, group flow. So I think because they're mostly standing there, they're not moving too much, I think it would be great to check their EEG.
Oh, well, that's our future collaboration project, definitely.
That would be extremely interesting. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Is there anything that we can do, anything else that we can provide to help you with your research?
Like if to do this group research, I was thinking about it, if you're interested, if you can do this collaborative study, I will need just more EEG system. Yeah. At least try out first how it works and if there are any results, at least in the pilot stage, so That's
Where,
probably.
where were you doing the escape room? Was that at Harvard?
No, the thing is, I think it's not a problem to find escape room anywhere, you know, like in Boston or here. I'm currently in Virginia. I mean, they're everywhere, but I did my research in Singapore.
Okay, great.
With escape room in Singapore.
Yeah, but that would be a fun project to collaborate on. Definitely looking at group flow.
Yes, so that would be group flow and EEG and EKG. I mean, do you think there will be some synchronization between the EEGs if they trying to get to escape?
Do you, is there anything else that you want to discuss? Believe it or not, we're coming up almost on the end of our half hour.
Yes, okay. So no. So first thing I wanted to discuss that I will send you invitation. I will send you more detail about this online pre-conference on Vajrayana, because we're still trying to set up the final date of the conference.
Yeah.
And also, yes, and this is group EEG project. I mean, I would be very interested. So if we can.
Okay, that's great.
And another thing
send
about
me any details that you have about the conferences, the planning.
And conference planning I will send. Now, this lockdown room in Singapore, escape room, now they're doing online escape room games. So people can do from different places in the world to get into the same escape room.
So, that's interesting. So how engaging is that experience when you're online?
It's not as engaging. It's not as engaging as, you know, so, but they're still developing. So I might check. I'll let you know what they have, you know, right now. They're still trying to come up with something more engaging. So because that would be easy to do. They don't need to be, you know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, this has been exciting as always. I love talking to you. You're one of the most creative, interesting people that we've had the privilege of working with over the years. So keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for all your help with EEG and
yes.
And, yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Maria.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.